Whitney, super happy that you're here. And you're making this happen.
Thank you for having me.
Very cool. And we're going to go into other specific topics, both from your human side and also your professional side. Yeah. One thing that is interesting and we love to ask is, who is Whitney, without mentioning what you do, where you come from, where you live?
Yeah. Who is Whitney? Whitney is a wildflower, an incredible zeal for life, curious about everything, and happy. Yeah.
Very good definition. It's so interesting because in London, as many people figure out, it's such a defining factor what you do. That's normally the second question someone asks you.
Yeah, definitely.
It's always what's your name and then what do you do?
Yeah.
And that's already puts you in a bucket.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's super hard to actually define ourselves into who we are. Yeah, beyond
it's so true. Yeah, it's so true. And I think also that almost puts a lot of pressure on you to have a nice title to say when someone asks you that question, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah.
And it's so beautiful. You say Whitney is happy.
Yeah.
What is it that makes you happy?
I think that I'm just blessed to be able to choose to be happy. I don't think that everyone can do it, but I can. And so I always find it like my duty to be happy and to express that joy and spread that joy to other people.
Was it always like this, or do you feel there was a point in time where you started to feel, actually, I'm quite a happy person?
I think I've always been like this, but there was a point in time where I realized that, I'm quite a positive, happy person. And I think that definitely comes with moving outside of your environment and meeting other people that maybe don't have that anchor and view life almost through quite a negative lens. I'm Nigerian, my family's Nigerian. I was born in Essex, but I'm Nigerian by blood, and I think Nigerians are quite positive people. My family are Christian, and tied with our culture and Christianity is very much about positive affirmations. And so I've just always grown up in that environment of, they might be struggles, but you can still be happy.
You can tell also, and we were briefly discussing about that, also your life right now, your life choices brought you to a place where you consider yourself super lucky to live and being able to do something you love and living a free life. And doing many things. And one thing, digging into your story, you were employed by a resident advisor until April 2024. So to some extent, conventional career choice. Still a very cool platform, but very much embedded into music. And then you decided to go freelance.
Yeah.
Where were you in your life at that moment? Were you, how were you feeling emotionally?
Yeah.
What was going on through your mind?
Prior to being at RA, I was working marketing for 3 years. And maybe in a way it's quite conventional, but for me and my background, it was very unconventional, especially to work in quite a creative industry. I didn't have that influence at all around me. And it didn't really seem almost like an option for me. And I found myself there by just pursuing my passion and following my curiosity and just taking risks and taking that leap. So I think I'm also someone who, in all areas of life, has quite itchy feet. And I got to a place where, I had been at RA for 5 years. I looked around me at the company and could see my influence in almost every department. And I really felt like I had done the work that I wanted to do. And then it was kind of what's the next step for me? What's the next evolution of Whitney? Almost my dream job that I had in my early 20s, I had done it and I'm doing it. So what's next? And I knew that my next move had to be a boss move. That was the criteria. It has to be something epic. You're leading social resident advisor. The next move has to be something next level. So I kind of set myself that goal, and I was wondering what it's going to be. I applied for a few jobs and things, and I just thought, I'm going to actually just go out on my own and do this. I was already doing a lot of freelance work, and at that point I was turning down a lot of freelance work because I was balancing that with working at RA, trying to do my own stuff on my own socials. And it kind of just made sense. It was like the next logical move almost. Logical, but kind of illogical in some ways.
When you decided it's going to be a boss move,
Yeah.
what would have been the alternatives to what you're doing today? Did you have a list of things that you were considering?
Yeah, probably at a bigger company. I would have moved away from music, I think. I was headhunted and had a conversation with Nike about a role there, like a more senior role there. So something probably definitely infusing music and culture, but maybe in a more corporate way. So a more senior role in a big company, pushing forward culture in a maybe more fashion. Yeah.
I guess that makes it even harder to consciously decide to do the entrepreneurial route when you have so many compelling options.
Yeah.
Like you have to say no to quite a few things.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that emotionally?
Emotionally, I think the kind of downside of being quite optimist is everything seems like a viable option and you see the bright side of everything. So I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. And like, it'll be amazing, it'll be great. Like I'll be in a massive office with all these people. But the reality of that maybe wouldn't have been exactly like that. But really the thing that was my guiding star was what kind of life do I want to live? Like, how do I want to live in this next phase of my life? Like, what are the things that are really, truly important to me?
It sounds like there's a lot of underlying connection with your purpose, which is something you talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Did you, at that time, have a clear idea? Did you have a clear idea what is your life purpose? And if yes, what is it?
Yeah. I didn't have a clear idea then. I have a quiet, very grounding belief that I am capable of like incredible things. So just not limiting myself in the spectrum of what is possible. Yeah.
Does that belief, is something that comes from your upbringing, from your family?
Definitely. I think the Nigerian way is very, very interesting. It's very funny. My partner is not from Nigeria, and I think sometimes you experience things through new eyes via someone else, and it really like highlighted to me how like I said, like so many affirmations. Like my mom was like, you can do anything, you can do absolutely anything. If you see someone and you're like, oh, this person's doing that, I don't know if I can do it. The first thing they'll say is they don't have two heads, so why can't you do it too? You know, there's a very common saying in like Nigerian culture is they don't have two heads. So you can literally do anything. I have that solid belief in me.
Amazing. From the time at Resident Advisor, what are the biggest learnings and skill sets you took along and use for what you're doing today?
You know what? I thought about this, and honestly, the number one skill set, I think, above like there's so many, but the number one skill set I think I found is how to advocate for myself. I think this is so important for anyone in the workplace, especially when you are moving up. You know, you're trying to get promoted or you're moving through a company vertically. You need to learn how to advocate for yourself. You need to learn how to advocate for your ideas, for the things that you're doing in a way that is respectful and almost like not so emotional. Bring your receipts and just be able to speak up for yourself. I think that's the number one thing. And that's really helped me through going freelance as well, even when it comes to charging rates, which is like a massive thing. A lot of people, freelance people come to me like, how do you decide your rates? But you have to have that confidence in yourself and in your skills and what it is that you deliver, your true value, to be able to advocate for yourself and to be able to say, this is what I'm worth and this is what I'm charging, and like stay steadfast in that.
The confidence you mentioned, where does it come from? I hear a lot of that might come from your background and your family and your upbringing.
Yeah. I think is again having that positive outlook on life and facing different challenges through life and overcoming them and knowing, okay, like I did that before, like I can go and do this new thing. I've had quite a long career and I got into marketing, like everything's been self-taught. I studied forensic science at university and knew that wasn't the lane, that the road I wanted to go down. And so it's been really like almost a decade-long career of trying things out, putting my neck out there, doing things that maybe other people might find questionable, and then finding success in those things and really holding on to those small wins that will propel you forward to the next challenge.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest advantages of being confident is probably that from all the possible outcomes there might be, you tend to focus on the positive ones.
Yeah.
You don't catastrophize about the edge cases, because there's always edge cases. There's so many things that can go wrong. You tend to not ignore them, but like keep them on the low.
Yeah, they're less relevant. I remember I got an opportunity to be on an entrepreneurs program. I've had so many lives. I got the opportunity to be on an entrepreneurs program, and as part of the entrepreneurs program, you're in a placement where you work for a startup and you work alongside the founder to try and understand like how to run a business and how the business is run. You also have a role within that company. So my role was marketing executive, and it was a men's underwear startup. But prior to that, I did a few interviews for different startups and different companies, and I got one offer. However, it fell through in the end, and I had to keep going. And I remember an ex of mine said, "Oh, you've had such an awful time doing this. Oh, it must be terrible." And I just thought, no, I haven't. I absolutely haven't. Like, I now have another opportunity, and that one just wasn't for me, and that's totally okay. So I think even just that mindset in itself really just helps you go and put your best foot forward whatever room you're stepping into, or whatever it is that you're doing, and know that you can prevail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you still have any fears or doubts, or in your head, like what were the things you thought, okay, this could actually go wrong, or maybe it's a bad idea because of this and that? Any fears, anxieties you want to share?
What, throughout my whole career?
No, when you were making the decision of leaving resident advisor and doing your own thing.
Yeah, doubts. I guess you always have, the doubt, especially when you go freelance. I've been employed since I was 16, so I've always had a job. And there is something scary about doing your own thing. Like, the thought, of course, came to mind, like, what if I don't get any clients? What if I don't have enough money to pay my rent? I just moved into quite a much more expensive apartment as well in East London, and the fear did definitely come in. But I think in any case in life, the best bet you can bet on is yourself. You have a lot more control over what you do. You could start a new job and get made redundant a month later. It happens to people, So I think, just having that.
And if you think about it now, 1.5 years later, were those fears justified? Were you overthinking? What do you think now?
Definitely overthinking.
Yeah?
Definitely overthinking. I have a lot of people that are, marketing specialists or social media managers that follow me, and they DM me. I've had a few DMs actually since I've gone freelance about, should I go freelance? I'm really scared. I don't know. But there's no better time to be someone with these set of skills and open yourself up to all of these opportunities that there are, because there are so many opportunities, especially for marketing and social media specialists out there. Yeah. And once you put yourself out there, you open yourself up to all of them.
It's so interesting because we debate a lot about this. Is this something that everybody should consider, or maybe some people should just stay away from that because they are too risk averse, they're too fearful, they want security? What do you think?
Yeah. I don't think it's something that everyone should consider, to be honest. Yeah. I think being self-employed comes with its own set of challenges outside of, I think having clients, finding work is probably the least thing that you have to worry about. It's maybe all the other side of things. Like, are you someone that is self-motivated? How do you feel about doing your own taxes and tax management and the admin side of things? Are you able to come up with systems and processes that will allow you to really maximize what it is that you're doing? Are you entrepreneurial? Some people just want to work for someone. And I think even going freelance and considering hiring team members, I always thought to myself, why would someone want to work for me when they can work for themselves? But some people actually just prefer to be employed and have go to their 9 to 5s and leave and have their free evening and relax and do whatever else they want to do, because when you're self-employed, those lines can be blurred.
Yeah. I can only imagine there's a lot of people who are actually really creative and have the potential to do incredible things on their own, but still decide not to take the step because of all the fears around admin and logistics and everything you just mentioned. Any recommendation or suggestions you have for those people?
Yeah, I mean, I think in life, no matter what it is, anything worth having comes with its challenges. Nothing really is easy. But in terms of recommendations, it's just establishing systems and processes as early as possible. Even if it just comes to the way you do your invoices, having a template for your invoice, having a template for your contracts, just makes things so much smoother. Finding a good accountant, asking people around you, like, don't be afraid to ask around, because there are people that are doing it and doing it very well, and they can give you tips as well. So just not being afraid, because the payoff is incredible. Like, the thing that I think to myself the most is, how come I didn't do this sooner?
Did you have a mentor at the time who gave you all this advice, or was it all self-thoughts, or did you learn it the hard way by doing it differently in the beginning and then realizing, oh boy, I could have done it like this and saved so much nerves and time and energy and everything?
Yeah, a mixture of both, actually. I went on a mentorship program for women that are working in music. When was that? 2023? And that really helped a lot. My mentor really cracked my brain open with a lot of questions she was asking and a lot of things she was exposing me to. I think it was great to have that career support from someone outside of the organization which I worked in. They can be way more impartial and tell you things exactly how they are and give you a bit more of an understanding about the market. However, I think it was also important for me to seek out that knowledge and find resources online, see what other people were doing. It really has to be a mixture of the both, for sure, and just come to your own conclusion about what works for you, because what works for someone else might not be what works for you. Yeah. How did you guys find it with setting that all up in the German system?
We go for it. You have more experience. It's definitely more complicated in Germany than in UK.
Yeah.
I've direct experience with Italy, UK, and Germany. UK is by far the best in terms of how easy. Like, it used to be that you could open a company, an LTD, for £13 in half an hour. Now it's a bit more expensive, but still, it's £50.
Definitely.
It's so simple. You go on the government website, things are clear. It's a really optimized website. Good luck with the German system. It's paper-based.
Yeah.
Of course, it's in German, but it's paper-based. You need to send letters, and then you need to receive letters.
Yeah.
And it's insane. Even when you send emails, they reply to you via letter.
Yeah. I also heard you can't close down a business unless you sell it, or you get banned from starting a new business for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, as you said, for everyone it's different.
Yeah.
For me, as someone who has launched a handful of businesses in Germany over the past, 5, 6, 7 years, the one thing that has helped me the most is to do it together with other people, with people that I trust. Because for everything you know, there's 10 things you don't know. And you think you have it all under control. And then you receive a letter out of absolutely nowhere telling you something you need to do that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And that can create some anxiety, especially when it's about a lot of money, it's about this and that, there is legal liability and everything.
Definitely.
And being in the same boat with other people, like sharing the anxiety, like supporting each other, having each other's back, and knowing that, okay, I might not know this, but there's a very high chance that collectively we will find a solution for how to fix this or for how to come to a solution. That has helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for solopreneurs. Maybe at some point I will also do my own thing. But for now, for me, I've learned this gives me a lot of safety around being in a very uncertain environment.
Yeah. The safety numbers, for sure. Definitely. I'll probably consider myself a solopreneur. And one thing that really also helped me with that transition from full-time employed to self-employed was joining a community. So I joined Babes on Waves, which is a community for women of color that are creative entrepreneurs or female founders. And we had like a Slack channel, and it was very comforting knowing that I could like go to Slack and have this whole big community where I can ask questions and see what people are doing and get recommendations. And yeah, I recommend definitely trying to surround yourself with people that also are on that similar journey.
Yeah, that's such a good point. We all tend to believe that we are the first person on earth who's going through something, when in reality, like a million people have done it before.
Certainly,
so many people will do it afterwards, and a lot of people are doing it at the same time. So being parts of these communities or programs that bring founders together, super, super helpful.
Definitely.
You realize a lot of the struggles are not just yours, as you're saying,
Absolutely,
right?
definitely. I think just having that also comfort of the community, or having people to speak with, knowing that, you know, even if you don't have quite a strong network within yourself, that you're tapping into a network that exists. There's so many communities out there for all different spectrum of people. So like going out there and searching for them, honestly, I've had a lot of great work opportunities come through the community that I'm part of.
Are you a person who is comfortable asking for help? Reason I'm asking is we had these conversations with a few people in a private setting in the past, and there's a recurring pattern of people saying, one thing I regret is I wish I would be able to ask for help more often, but there is something that's stopping me from doing that. And it can be just so empowering. Just go out, ask for help, and the next thing you know, everyone wants to help you. It's not that people ghost you or ignore you or they don't have any time. Like typically what you find is everyone is motivated and interested in helping you. Like, how do you deal with this?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm someone that has had to learn to be better at asking for help. Sometimes almost the mental thing is it feels like more of a job to go out and ask someone for help than to try and figure it out yourself. And you always get stuck in that rut of like, oh, I just need to figure this out. I kind of get into this one track mind of like, this just needs to be solved. I'm very solution based, and like going to someone else is just gonna distract me from that. But how to get over that? I think sometimes just getting over yourself, knowing that you're not the first person to have that problem and you won't be the last, like you said, and using the people around you, you know, sometimes even just sounding out your problem or what's going on is the solution that you need. You find the solution that bit easier. It does cut the time in half, I think, for sure. I think I definitely need to get better at asking for help and just reaching out to the people around me that are doing cool things.
It's so interesting because I think a lot of people who are independent and strong, they're doing their own thing, have exactly this problem. It's a recurring thing. We could ask for more help, all of us, all creatives. We just then think, oh no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because X, Y, Z thing that goes into your mind.
Totally, definitely. I think I've especially struggled because I've like over the year as a content creator, I've met a lot of and made a lot of content friends that are also doing like content creation. And as someone who coaches people in content, it almost feels like, oh, I shouldn't like ask people because I'm supposed to be the expert, you know? But then again, like that's the whole thing of getting over yourself and just being like, we all have so much to learn. Yeah. We all have so much to give. Maybe even you call someone up to ask them for their advice and you're able to give them some advice in the same conversation. So dropping the ego.
And yes, ego, super important.
Definitely.
There is a range of things that I think you advise creatives and probably your clients to do. One of them is thinking about their why, their purpose. How do you think about your why? And if you were to advise a creator, founder, someone who is creating a personal brand online, what should they do to think about their why?
Yeah. It's the foundation of everything, isn't it? Can be as serious and as deep as you want or as lighthearted and silly as you want, but everyone has a why. Everyone has a reason why they're choosing to do the thing that they're doing. So really like digging deep into what that is and where that comes from at its absolute core is, I think, the best way. And writing it down, I have a document with my why on it and I've worked on it I worked on it for quite a while, and now it's a one-pager, and it really starts from my inception almost. And when you track it back, you can see the little seeds that were sown early in your life that brought you to where you are today and where you want to go.
When did you write up that document, and why? Was there an event that triggered you to just sit down and think about this?
Yeah. I guess it really happened about a year ago, around the time that I was launching Love the Agency. I mean, a year from now, a friend recently reminded me that about a year from now, I had about 3,000, just over 3,000 followers. And
on Instagram?
On Instagram, yeah. And when I went freelance, and I could see how many leads were coming just from people who knew me from these 3,000 people. And I decided to start posting more intentionally, less about just posting my updates for friends and like a little bit of behind the scenes of what I'm up to in my work, but more intentionally to attract the clients and the brands that I wanted to work with. That's when I really wanted to look at like, why am I actually doing this? What's the reason? I think that really, like I said before and on my socials, is that it makes creating a personal brand so much more simple when you have that foundation of why you're doing it.
Did you do two questions? One is that, do you think the why changes with your life? Do you update the document?
Yeah, I haven't had to update the document so far. I definitely think it evolves. But mainly I think what really evolves is maybe your audience and what your current goal is at the time. The why might be the same, but the goal might be different.
And so your why now is? What would the document, what does the document say?
Oh, I should have brought my laptop. My why is my mum is an incredible woman. I'm not just saying that because she's my mum. She is the eldest of 8. She grew up in Nigeria, and she often describes her family as a family that didn't really have much, but they had love. And as a woman, she wasn't really regarded as someone who was going to go out and do anything other than become someone's husband. But against all odds, she left Nigeria as a young woman and moved to the UK, made a life for herself, pulled her whole family out of poverty, and became a mother to her 8 siblings when her mum died very young and suddenly.
Crazy.
And I think my mum being who she is, paired with my neurospiciness, my zeal for life and curiosity, leads me to be the person that I am today, that does question everything and wants to live a fulfilled and very joyful life. And fast forward, that led me to discovering marketing and getting into marketing. And I actually really need to look at this document to be honest again, but I won't take too much time. But that led me to get into marketing and eventually find a career within electronic music. And it's not common for a woman that looks like me to hold the position that she held within the music industry, especially the electronic music industry. It's not common for a woman like me to be into electronic music, point period. But despite all of that, I am who I am, and I've made every decision I've made in life up until now out of wanting to enjoy life to the fullest and inspire others to do the same and know that they can do the same. So that's why I will continue to do what I do even when it's really hard, because I want to be that inspiration, the inspiration that I never had as a young person and had to find my way through all of the challenges and all of the closed doors and all of the things that we all go through. I just want people to know that it's possible to live on your own terms and do what you want to do, no matter what your background or what society tells you that you should be or should not be.
It's beautiful, and it's also like the why of this project is exactly that. And I think it sounds also like you had a strong like roots in a way in support from your mother, and a beautiful example that probably also helped you have confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of your why, you found your why, you identified your why, looking retrospectively at what your life was until this point. Was it a formal exercise or process you went through to then describe it into a document?
Not exactly an exercise. Well, there's a few practices that I do, especially with my clients, when it comes to kind of viewing yourself in the third person. So one example that I often give is for people to imagine that this is also really tied to personal branding and how your vibe comes across on your content. But one example I do give to people is to close their eyes and imagine that there is a room full of all of the people that they love, their closest family and friends. It doesn't matter whether they know each other or not, they're all in this room together and they're all there to celebrate you. You're not there, but you're just seeing all of your close friends and family. And what is it that they're saying about you? How do they describe you? And sometimes you can often try and think of the positive things, especially if you're quite a positive person, but be honest, like what are they saying? Oh, she's a bit sassy, she's quite loud, she's very outspoken, or, you know, sometimes she doesn't know when to shut up, but also the positive things, of course. And write those things down. And then see yourself walking into that room. How do you interact with the people in that room? Like what are you noticing about yourself? And then write those things down. And then imagine everyone leaves and it's just you're left there by yourself. What are you like then? And write those things down. And you have a list of who you are, you know, at all these different versions of you. And try and draw some, there will be some things that are reoccurring in those, bring those out, and that is kind of you at your essence almost, in your personal brand. And I think this also kind of prompts these thoughts about, okay, why am I like this? Who am I? Honestly, I don't think we often think about ourselves in this way, but this is really how we create a brand, a personal brand that feels truly and authentically ourselves.
I love that. Yeah. You mentioned your mom a few times.
Yeah.
You talked about female empowerment, female founders. Is this a topic that is very close to your heart? And if yes, where does it come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess so. I guess so. I think, where does it come from? It comes from being a woman. It comes from being a woman, and I think in society, there are expectations that are placed on us. I think as everyone, really. And when you are trying to push those boundaries or question those, it's like, where did those expectations come from? How can I align myself or find community in other women that also think this way? If I actually take it back, really, I remember, you know, I've grown up around very strong female influences. I think African women generally are usually the like powerhouse of the house. They're like the backbone. Yeah, they're the engine for sure. It's very, very common. They're very like outspoken, loud, like loving, you know, that's what I've always been around. And when I was in secondary school, I moved to a different sixth form in a different like borough. And this was the first time I came across females that didn't have this kind of self-assurance, this kind of, I don't know, something about them. And I ended up having a bit of an altercation with a girl at sixth form. And I just thought it was so wild. And I thought, so not everyone thinks like this. Not everyone thinks like me. Not everyone has this sense of worth almost within them. And I think that's also drawn me to hold on to that and know that that's something that's special about me, and seek out community in that outside of when, you know, I've left my family home and I left my family and everyone around me. Hope that answers the question. That was a bit well.
It does. And I'm wondering today, are there any things, measures you do proactively or consciously to empower other women in their lives?
Yeah, I think the main tool that I've used is social media, is not being afraid to be seen. I think that goes into my why and the reason why I do what I do. Yeah, I use social media as the tool to do that, to reach people and to let them know that if they are someone that maybe is this type of woman, but maybe doesn't see that reflected in the environment around that there are women out there that think that, and like they should pursue that, and they should be bold in that, and they use that as their power.
Beautiful.
And throughout your path, maybe directly from you, but also from people around you, what challenges have you seen women experiencing more than men, perhaps, or more than other genders? And if you want, also like women of color in particular.
In the workplace, I think one of the biggest challenges is probably poor management. Poor management. I think that, how do I say this? I think it's quite hard when you are establishing yourself, or when you are a junior person in the workplace, really trying to move onwards and upwards, and you're quite driven, and you're not someone that just wants to stay in the same role. I think that it's hard to find good managers. I'm very blessed that, like, in my career, I've had some amazing managers and some not so amazing managers. But it's quite hard when you are kind of almost relying on your senior for your professional development. And if they don't see your role as someone that they should, a talent that they should develop, it can really stagnate your professional development and really bring down your self-esteem and your confidence in the workplace. And that is the thing that can really be something that holds you back. When I look at some females that are very successful now, when we look at, people like Grace Beverly or Grace Andrews, I think that they have been very fortunate in that they've had good leadership and good mentorship to really pull them up.
Instead of trying to suppress them.
This particularly goes into when you are a minority. I think that I said in a post recently that sometimes in the workplace I felt hyper visible but also invisible, in that you understand the value that you're bringing to the company or to your role. However, it's really overlooked, and at the same time you're almost looked on a microscope, especially if you're someone that is trying to do something different, or you're the first. It's that great to be the first Black woman to do something, but it's also so incredibly difficult because you come under so much scrutiny. And these can be the things that I think the patriarchy uses as a tool to hold women down and keep them in the place that benefits them and not the woman. So yeah, I think in a long story short, I think management, and I think to further that, if a woman is in a workplace where they feel like they're being undermined, or they feel like what they're bringing to the table isn't being recognized, then seek out mentorship outside of the workplace. Try and seek out also community, like I've said, and hold on tight to like your confidence, and know that the value that you're bringing, and know that this is a system that is kind of operating against you, but you can still overcome and prevail.
Mm-hmm. From your personal experience, do you feel the situation overall is improving for women?
I think in the grand scheme of things, from like the 90s, let's say, things have improved up until now. I think it's still very much a challenging and can be quite hostile sometimes environment to be in the workplace. And I think one thing that we can use to our advantage is the access to information that we have, and the access to community, and access to mentorship programs and things like that. There's so many that you can access and tap into. So I would say in that case, things are better, but it's still challenging. It's still a challenge. I think, there's a lot of things that uphold the patriarchy. There are a lot of men, very specific type of men that are in more senior management, and they like things the way they are, and it is quite hard to break through that, but it's not impossible.
And you mentioned specifically patriarchal ways to keep women down, or like not letting them evolve. You mentioned scrutiny. Scrutiny, is that in the form of kind of questioning everything you have to say just because you're a woman compared to your colleague who was a white man, for example?
Yeah. Definitely. I think scrutiny even in terms of your attitude in the workplace, scrutiny in terms of how much are you assimilate into the culture that already exists in the workplace. I think particularly for me in my case, being someone that was quite visible in terms of like the social media landscape, it means that my personal life can come under scrutiny, and that can be used quite subconsciously as a subconscious bias of, she doesn't need a pay rise, she's doing this, or you know, there's some scrutiny that can come under there. I think especially it's quite challenging when you challenge someone's perception of what someone like you, a minority, a woman, whatever type of minority you are, should be doing. Then you can come under scrutiny, and it can be quite difficult, yeah.
Because there is resistance. I mean, there is
resistance, and resistance is especially resistance and liberation is a threat to the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a different type of man, your husband. When did you meet?
You were in Berlin at that time.
We met in 2022 in Berlin, yes. He was visiting and I was living there, and we matched on Field actually. And
wow.
A Field love story. Funnily enough, I had deleted all apps and I just accepted that there was no man good enough for me in this world. And I had a frivolous moment and re-downloaded Field and swiped a few times. He was someone that I matched with, but then I hid my profile from being seen because I came back to my senses. I was like, no. And he messaged me straight away and asked me on a date. His second message was like, can I please take you out? So I was like, okay, I have nothing else to do.
Wow. Imagine how many conditions.
Honestly, we speak about this often. We speak about this often about how we almost didn't meet, but we did. I think it's destiny, isn't it?
I met one of my business partners on Field.
Nice, we know Field, bringing people together.
Also now a great friend of mine. Yeah.
I've made some good friends with Field, I've got to say.
Mm-hmm. And in what way did that relationship influence your career trajectory, especially in terms of the decisions you took around becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, totally. Well, I've got to say, it's kind of, there's a lot to say in all of that, I think. At the time that I met Rory, he was unemployed. He was kind of in between jobs, figuring out what he wanted to do. And together we kind of established his career using social media, his new career, shall I say, because he already had he's been doing amazing work before that. And so he was freelance as well for the first time, working for himself as a content creator, he had just launched his men's community, and he was still volunteering in prison. So at the time that I was kind of figuring out what my next step was, and he definitely really encouraged me. And I think when someone's already doing it and done it, and he was kind of one of my first personal branding clients as well, and I could see, okay, like I can do this for him. I've done it had another client at the time as well who I was working with, and it was going really well. So he definitely really encouraged me to take the jump. And I think financially, of course, it also helped that he was kind of like, don't worry if you get no clients, like I've got you, I'm going to support you, as the wonderful man that he is. So giving that emotional and physical support, I'd say, is definitely a big help. I'm not sure if I would have so quickly have gone freelance if we weren't together. And I didn't have that kind of history of working with individuals and personal branding.
And do you work together, or are there overlaps in your work, or how does it?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of overlaps in our work. Obviously, I run my agency where I do social media consulting, but I also work as a content creator. Similar to him, he works as a content creator while running his men's wellbeing community and doing a lot of voluntary work. So the overlap really comes with our content, and he features a lot in my content just as much as I feature a lot in his content. So that's nice. We're able to work together as content creators, and I think especially as it's quite new to both of us, it's so far flung from the world that he's come from, it's nice to be able to support each other in that and give each other advice. And now that he's been doing it for so long as well, sometimes I can come to him and be like, what do you think about this? And I know he's going to give me the honest truth about how my video is looking.
And how much of your free time do you spend talking about content creation?
I wanted to ask the same question.
I mean,
Always free
difficult to
time.
define free time if you're self-employed. Like
Totally.
it's very blurry, but like how much of your time that you spend together do you feel you're talking about work versus other stuff that has nothing to do with content creation?
I mean, I couldn't really put a percentage on it. Obviously, I think when you work in social media, it's quite all-encompassing. It does kind of infiltrate a lot of areas of your life. Everything you could be doing could be content. You know, even if you're working in-house for another brand, anything can happen at any time where you're like, okay, I need to jump on, I need to do this. So it is a common thread that comes through a lot of things that we do. But we definitely try to, you know, have our fun time, have our time where we're not talking about that. But we definitely see each other as life partners and also business partners. And we have like very ambitious goals that we're going for. So sometimes it's important to talk about content.
And I would love to talk a little bit about boundaries in this context, if you want to share. Like, let's assume there is a super beautiful moment that you both share. And then there is this idea of, hey, let's create some content around this moment. And the alternative would be like, let's just enjoy the presence and be by ourselves. Do you have these moments? And if yes, like, how do you set the boundaries?
Yeah, I think it's quite intuitive. Like you mentioned earlier, I think it's quite intuitive. Sometimes it just makes sense. And we want to also like record that moment because we're enjoying it so much. Some of my favorite pieces of content are just like random stuff that we've done together. Like I have one of our first holidays that I did. I started a new TikTok to share all my travels, and one of our first holidays I've made like TikToks from it, and it's just so funny to look back at them sometimes and see that and just remember who you were in that moment, you know, because we evolve so fast and you have kind of had that time capsule of that one moment. It takes me back to this time we went recently to Malaga for a friend's wedding, and there was the most incredible sunset ever. And we were walking back from a restaurant and we're like, let's stop and watch the sunset. Like, it looks so cool. The sky looked amazing. And we just set up the camera and just sat there. And we had our own moment and we were still just doing our thing, but we also were able to record it. So I think sometimes, just knowing between each other, you know, sometimes we go for really nice dinners and it's just like, we just want to chill. We just want to relax and we don't want to make it about work. So we're just going to, you know.
Camera off.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have a very good balance or intuition. You don't feel the stress of having to shoot too much content or not to shoot it, because it feels like you have a good relationship with the content creation.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And I think I've said even in the production process, I find sometimes it's easier when you have less clips to work with and you have to be really creative with what you're putting together and how you're putting together and how you're telling the story. So sometimes less is more, and I think that you kind of have to like put away that pressure to record absolutely everything, because at the end of the day you're not going to use it all. Some things are just personal memories.
Have you faced yet any downsides of posting content about you two or other personal relationships online? Anything that fired back?
No, I've got to say, I think the pros well outweigh any type of cons. I'll say the only con is just, and I think any couple that work together might find this, is that, sometimes you do end up talking about work a bit too much, and sometimes you just have to say, someone has to say, okay, like, we're done with this now, like, let's just have our moment and just, you know, work is done now, we're not going to talk about work. So I wouldn't say there's cons, honestly. If anything, there's pros, because I remember when I was first, in the early days of me and Rory dating, and he started posting a bit more, he had more pictures online. Someone was using him as a catfish on a dating app. And then girls were messaging me being like, I know this isn't your boyfriend, but like someone's messaging me with his profile picture, trying to talk to me, And it was very strange. But as Rory's profile got bigger, clearly they stopped because people kept finding out that they were a fake.
Wow.
So if anything, that helped. But super random.
I guess what also helps is just for the two of you to be on the same page. Like if one of you would be like taking 100 selfies every day and the other one is not even on social media, that would probably cause more friction over time.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know what, I think it's more about an understanding. I have clients actually that maybe they're really interested in pursuing social media for business purposes or building up a personal brand, but their partner isn't really supportive, I think it's more a matter of understanding. I think that social media can be demonized for sure. However, it's an incredible tool to use. And if you can wield it properly, I've seen it transform people's lives, like my husband, and I've seen it transform people's businesses, like some of my clients. So sometimes the partner just doesn't have that understanding and they just see it as like taking a million selfies and not what the actual purpose of it is. And it's more about educating that person on what they're trying to do and understanding that their support is quite necessary in this process.
Yeah, right. It would be the same if the person was an athlete or
totally,
a musician or creative or any other kind without social media.
Yeah, exactly. I've had this come up with friends even who in the early days didn't really understand why I was posting and didn't really feel like they wanted to support that. And obviously things have changed now that like I'm here, but it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing and not everyone gets it. And sometimes you just have to sit down with the person that you love and let them know. I always tell my clients, if they are just starting out, to be upfront and honest with their friends and family about what their goal is. Hey, I'm going to start recording YouTube videos. I really want to be a YouTuber. I really want to promote my new service on YouTube. So this is what I'm going to be doing. And just put it out there,
I think there's also a difference between like if someone just tolerates what you do versus truly understands what you do. Because someone may love you, but they don't understand what the hell it is you're doing and they try to accept it for what it is. But if they really understand what you do, I think it sends completely different signals of affirmation and motivation that have a completely different impact on you and your work.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you have to wait for that moment to come. Sometimes you have to wait for like an opportunity to come and they're like, oh, wow, okay. They're now like, getting loads of clients or like they're now flying to this place because they've been posting. Oh, okay, I better take this seriously now. Sometimes you have to, the proof has to be in the pudding, before people come around. You kind of have to accept that as part of the journey. Yeah.
And related to this, so for someone who is starting their content creation journey and sharing journey, one of the big things you also mentioned that in your videos is people that have anxiety before posting. They start doubting themselves, they have fears, a lot of things are going on in their mind.
Yeah.
What would you suggest for someone who is approaching this journey and very scared about making their first video?
I think come back to the foundations of it, your why, the reason why you're doing it. The reason why should outweigh any type of reason not to do it. In fact, one simple thing that I do tell people to do is write down the things you're scared of. Like, what is it exactly that is scaring you? Is it that person from high school seeing your video and judging you? Is it, I don't know, someone at work seeing it? Usually it's being seen or perceived by someone outside of you. And then write down the things that could happen if you actually just go for it. Maybe it's that you finally get your first client for this new business that you're starting. Maybe it's that you get to work with your dream brand, or whatever it might be. Maybe it's that you get to, you get to influence someone, or inspire someone, or just finally tell your story that you wanted to tell. Weigh up the two and act accordingly. Why would you let A hold you back from achieving B? I think just anything in life it's going to be a bit of an uphill walk at first, but you just have to take that step.
Yeah. And for then someone who was started posting, and you mentioned something that I loved, which is your content pillars. And it's something that I think I shared with you. There's a video specifically where you mention you don't need to post just about one theme and one topic consistently, especially if, to be authentic, your life is multifaceted. You have different passions, different areas you want to show. Can you tell more about the content pillars for someone who has never heard of them?
Yeah.
What is your framework?
Totally. I mean, there's many ways to grow or have a personal brand on social media. This is just one of them. This is the one I probably identify with the most as someone who is very multifaceted and struggled with staying in a box that I feel society or people around me tried to put me in. So having content pillars is really about choosing 3 main topics that are going to show up consistently within your content. And once you pick those 3 main topics, especially I work a lot with business owners, so one of them should be based on your business. The other 2 might be just the personal nuances of yours. pick those 3 main topics, and then start writing subtopics of those topics. And that will give you, up to 30. If you wrote 10, that will give you up to 30 content ideas. And within those content ideas, you're going to find some crossover. I gave the example of someone who loves to cook, maybe as a chef, really into jazz music, but also into jewelry. These are three things that people probably know you for. They know you as that person that's super well dressed. They know you as that person that always has the best tunes. And they know you as that person that cooks everything. Like always, that's the person that you want to go to their house for dinner because they cook amazing food. And this is something that you want to build a personal brand or even a business off of the back of. So in between those, you're going to have those crossovers. And that's how you can create iconic series out of, or just start creating content out of. I think also as creatives, we're all multifaceted in one way or another. And there might be 10 things that you're super interested, but what are the core 3 things to just narrow in on that will help other people know you for those things as well, and really help you identify who your audience is and like how to package your content.
Can you think of really strong examples of people who nail exactly these 3 pillars?
Well, that's a good one. You gotta follow that. I'm really liking it at the moment. Okay, I'm gonna obviously say my husband as one example. So his content pillars at the moment, and these will evolve as well with time as you evolve as a person, as your audience evolves. But his content pillars are obviously like men's well-being and masculinity, dance music culture, and music, electronic music, and yoga. And I think that he balances these really, really well in his content and creates for a really well-rounded personal brand that really feels truly him. Who else do I really like?
Grace Andrews is also, you mentioned her before. She started doing more blogging as well.
That's true. She's on YouTube now as well. Yeah. I think that hers definitely is very much defined in the kind of entrepreneurial space, but she's kind of documenting her journey and what she's up to there. So I would say she also matches her love for matcha and entrepreneurialism, and kind of also that educational arm of it as well, in terms of how she makes money. So like her speaking events and bringing people along on that kind of creator journey. She does do a good job of that, actually. Yeah, you're totally right.
But probably more concentrated, as you mentioned.
Slightly more concentrated, exactly. And like I said, there are many ways to build a personal brand, and you might find that initially, I think this is a great way to get people started, especially for the people who feel a bit overwhelmed by choice of what they should post about, and they end up posting 10 different random things because they're interested in 10 different things. But actually, you post about 10 different random things over the space of 3 months. It means you touch on one topic, 3 or 4 times, which is just not enough to build up that repetition and keep people coming back. One of your videos might do really well, but then they go on your page and they look at all the other things and it's about something completely and utterly different. So really narrow in on those 3 core topics that you want to share, and finding a way to almost infuse them together really helps you stand out.
Yeah.
You said infuse them together. Do you think they can also be like completely unrelated to each other?
Yeah, totally, definitely. As long as they're not 2 separate businesses which you're trying to sell separate services for. I think if one arm of it is your business, the other 2 are completely unrelated. But this is what creates personal nuance. This is the reason why we choose to go to one coffee shop over another. It's the feeling that you have when you step inside the coffee shop. It's the way the cup feels when you hold it. It's the seats that they have. These are the things that we like about, they're both selling the same thing. You can easily sit there, I could easily sit there and compare myself to another social media strategist, but actually it's those nuances, it's those other parts of my content pillars that are truly authentically me, that I infuse into my content, that really means that the people that follow me for the reason that they follow me, and there might be a completely different reason why you follow someone else that is also doing a similar thing. It's the feeling that you get, it's the vibe that you get from that person when you consume their content.
And I think the beauty of having the 3 pillars, so like having a variety which is authentic to you, actually shows your real self, it's not made up. But also the beauty is that these combination of three is probably very unique.
Absolutely, completely unique. And it's usually just based off of the experience and the life that you've had. And this is your story. This is what you have to share. This is what people can relate to. This is why people choose to buy from you. Because people choose to work with me because they want to work with me, because I share, my history and my experience through my content pillars.
Super interesting. And for someone who started this journey, maybe they have an underlying business or service they're selling, and they don't see results, let's say, measured as sales. Very concrete into, they have a product, they have a service, they're consulting for something, and they started doing content, they started posting, but they're not seeing results. They see some growth on, let's say, Instagram, and they don't see conversion to that. What could be the reasons?
The main problems that I see when people are doing this is because they're afraid to talk about their services or their product in a quite explicit way. They're not promoting themselves enough. They're not making it clear what it is that they're offering or how people can buy. Maybe they have a workshop coming up, but they've posted about it once. And they're like, I've posted about it, I posted it on my stories and I posted a post, so that's it. No, people need to see something up to 24 times to then make a emotional purchase. So there's different ways in which you can bring up your product or service. One of my favorite ways is just talking about testimonials or past workshops that you've done. If it's your first workshop you're doing, that's a story within itself. Even showing the process of getting ready for your workshop, that is a way to promote that workshop without directly saying, hey everyone, come and buy my workshop. It's like letting people know and making them aware that this exists. The other problem that probably they might be having is not being very certain about who their target audience is. Who is this product or service for, and how is your content reaching them?
There's a lot to unpack. I have so many follow-up questions. Thank you. It's beautiful. And so on the first point you explained that is not clear, like they're not posting so much about what they're selling.
Yeah.
What could be a way? I think my immediate reaction to that is I would be scared to sound too salesy. To be too much into, I'm promoting, I'm not really giving something interesting or valuable. Let's say I do music and I have an interest for people to come to my gigs, for example. I'm hosting a night. And I post about it, but I make one post and then I make Instagram stories. Let's say it's too little. And I realized that because, thinking about it, I would say, okay, it's too much if I just share too much about it, right?
Yeah.
What do you think could be a way to overcome these potential doubts and also doing that in a nice way that is not salesy?
Yeah, totally. I think that this is where it comes to really getting creative. And that can be the fun in social media, is getting creative about promoting your gigs and using this framework for future. I think someone who does it really well is Jyoti. She's an amazing British DJ. And to be honest, she sometimes just goes on camera and just starts chatting. She had an event, and it's so great. It's amazing. And it's just she talks a lot about, just club culture, just different topics about, just being a DJ and being in the UK club scene and things like that. And that in itself is valuable, is entertaining. People follow her for those things. But she made one video a while ago, which I thought was incredible. And she has an event, a club night that she runs, which they don't allow mobile phones. And this is quite more common in the UK, to be honest. They don't allow mobile phones at all on her nights. So obviously this already poses a bit of a problem that you don't have physical content of the night to post. However, she came on and she was talking about, do you hate it when you're in the club and everyone's got their phone out and no one's dancing? Yeah, me too. And then she tells the story, and then she goes on to talk about her club night that she's hosting where no phones are allowed. And I thought this was excellent. This was amazing.
Right.
Yeah, this is great. And it's you're not being hey everyone, come to my club night, but you're telling a bit more of the story behind it. You're addressing the problem, that the reason why you even started the club night in the first place, and you're talking directly to your ideal target audience. And this video did really well, and we're sure it converted into people turning up to her gig. So just being a little bit more creative with it. Being creative with it. The fact that she already posts videos just generally about club culture, things like that, gave her the data and the evidence that she knows that she can come on camera and she can just talk about something and people are going to listen and people respect her opinion because she's already built up that audience. So using these things, you know, I think you do have to post a little bit to try out things and get that data and get your confidence, most importantly, and understand what people like to hear and see from you.
Yeah, fantastic example. And your second topic was finding the audience, or even before identifying the right audience, right?
Yeah.
How does one go about it? Because I mean, you could go from, I have a product that I want to sell, then I find an audience that wants that product, or you could go the other way around, which is you have an audience in mind, then you have a product, you test it, and then either you change the product or you refine the audience. In your experience personally, and for brands and individuals you support, what is one effective way to find an audience?
To find your audience, I go down the route of really like, again, what is your why and what are your aims? Like, what are your aims in whatever it is that you're doing? This will help you identify who your audience is. And identify what metrics you should really be looking at as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question? I want to keep it short, but
No, feel free to go deeper. The metrics is also very important, right? Because one can focus so much on the followers, right?
Yeah.
That could be one, but then you can focus more on sales, or you can focus on the effect, the feedback. We had a guest yesterday, and who said to us, Will is a content creator in the music and creativity general topic. And he said that the metric for him is the connection and knowing that someone has had a meaningful interaction or has been inspired by his content. That's the main metric, right?
Yeah.
What are the metrics that you think one should look at?
Yeah. Honestly, it really depends on what your aim is. If your aim is sales, then the metrics you should be looking at is conversion. How many people are clicking through to the link that you've posted, or how many sales are you getting for the specific type of content that you're creating, so that you know that, okay, let's create more of this type of content and this will help me get more sales, ideally. Or if your aim is growth. Right now, I'm going to be entering a growth phase for my social media. So I will be looking at what posts are really helping me connect with people and convert people from viewers into followers. And it's okay to look at that metric. Your metric might be reach. And if you're looking at what posts are reaching the most amount of people, go into your analytics and see, and there will be like a common connection between them. You might just want to get better at content creation. In that case, I recommend looking back at all of your videos for the last 30 days, watching them in full, scrolling. And when you feel like you want to scroll past a video, write it down. That identifies maybe where you're losing people's attention and you could improve on that video or in that format. If you feel like you watch a video and you're like, this is really not me, like I don't really like this one, write that down and then look back at your metrics as well and try and compare and contrast with your aims and what your emotional feeling is with these videos, to try and get that right type of videos that you should be posting to achieve your aims and your goals.
I'm oversimplifying here, but when I think about metrics, let's say there is commercially driven metrics, as in clicks, conversions, sales, revenue, stuff like that. And on the other side, more purpose-driven metrics like what you just mentioned. I touched someone, I changed someone's life, I triggered thoughts in someone's head that, cause something positive for someone on the other side of the world.
Totally.
Like, how do you balance these two for yourself? How do you decide which one to prioritize at what time, or do you try to optimize both at the same time? Like, what is your approach to this?
Definitely. I think my approach, honestly, is understanding that things are seasonal. And I mean, overarchingly, my aim and my ambition will always be to inspire women and inspire the next generation of limitless women to understand that there are no limits, and the limits that exist are only limits that they put on themselves. Of course, society and whatnot, but like you can overcome those. That will always be the crux of what I'm doing. However, when it comes to the more like tangible metrics, shall we say, it comes seasonally. Like I said, I'm going into a growth phase. Before, it was more about building up building up the muscle really for content creation, understanding who my target audience is, who am I really speaking to, where is my business going, who are the people that I'm servicing in my business. So that came through just like posting, understanding, learning. But honestly, I think when it comes to the less quantifiable metrics, when it comes to maybe like the feedback you get, these are things that you feel in person. I was at a festival a few weeks ago, well, months ago now, and a girl came up to me and she was like, oh my God, like, so happy to meet you. You're the reason that I have my job in music now. It was your TikToks, your early TikToks. You recommended Doors Open, which is a platform for jobs in electronic music. And I found my job and I'm there now and I'm really enjoying it. Like, thank you so much. And like, these are things I think above any, you know, amount of likes or any really viral post or whatever, this is the thing that I hold deepest in my heart. And even the colleagues that I had at RA who found their job at RA through the videos that I was posting, like, this is like really the fire that burns in me of like, yes, like I'm doing it, we're doing it. And when people come up to you and say really nice things, it's
fulfilling your why.
It's fulfilling the why, exactly.
Yes,
and it reminds you that you're on the right path. And I see it a lot, you know, even with my clients who do really well and they start telling you that people are coming up to them and recognizing them and telling them how it's really nice when people tell you how what you're doing has impacted them.
Is this also needed as in like being reminded that you might be talking to a camera, but at the end of the day,
There's people.
That's not what you're doing in the first place?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think like in the world of social, you can get so disillusioned almost with the numbers. You think, oh, 1,000 views, that's rubbish. That's 1,000 people, that's a lot of people. I tell people often as well, building a personal brand that's gonna support your business is a lot less about having a lot of followers and a lot more about sharing exactly what it is you do, making it easy for people to work with you, and having those, even if you've got 300 followers, those are 300 people that could potentially know exactly what you do, what services you offer, and could recommend you, even if they aren't able to work with you, to someone that they know. That's oftentimes more than the amount of demand anyone can take anyway. So really focus on that part of the personal brand rather than like the numbers.
And from a personal experience, is there a strong case for not optimizing for the maximum number of followers, but for a certain amount of followers that gives you depth and actually is very, very closely aligned with your vision, with your product, with your brand and everything? I would say like from an outside perspective, I have no idea about social media. I would think, wow, that person has 1 million followers, like they're crushing it. Well, probably they are, but another person maybe have only 10% of that, 100K followers, but maybe they're a lot more successful because those 100,000 people are strong believers and supporters and fans of your products and brands and services. Like, is there a case to be made for not trying to optimize to have as many followers as possible, but rather to focus on getting the right people to join your community? Yeah,
100%, absolutely. And I think this is something that I touch on my coaching almost all the time, because I think it's easy to get into that, oh, I need to get more, but actually no, it's like definitely more quality over quantity. I see more than ever now people with massive followings coming to me who have like terrible engagement, really feel like their channel's on the floor because, you know, they've maybe switched up what they're talking about, or they're just so unaligned with the audience that they have because they've grown massively very quickly over maybe one thing, and they want to pivot into something else. So it wasn't the right thing for them. They've become big over something that wasn't truly aligned to what they wanted to do or where they wanted to take it. And they just kind of chased the numbers instead of actually slowing down and thinking, okay, let me be intentional with what I'm posting. I want to attract the right type of people, not just loads of people. I 100% beat that drum of quality over quantity, especially when it comes to your followers, especially when it comes to building a business using social media and using your personal brand.
And about chasing numbers, can it also lead to a situation where you are too much influenced by the number of likes and the types of comments that you receive, and you try to go this way and then that way, and you pivot too often and you lose your identity versus someone who is highly convicted about their long-term purpose and what they want to build. And but maybe they're not so much distracted by the number of likes and comments.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And I think, I know that this is why it's just so important to have your why written down and to constantly be reevaluating what your goals are in that season, who it is that you want to speak to, what is a sustainable amount of content for you in that season as well, like what is actually contributing positively to your business or to your personal brand, and question as well, is this me? Like, is this me? Is this the person with all those attributes that I've written down? Is this giving off the vibe that I want someone who enters my space on the internet to have? And always having like a really strong hold on those things is the most important thing. And that is what is the key to longevity, really and truly, because at the end of the day, social media is an ocean, it's a wave, the tide goes in and it goes out, and some days you're going to be completely up and all your views are going to be amazing and everything's going fantastic and you feel so aligned, and other times you're going to feel that's the complete opposite and views are down and you don't really know why, and that's where you really come back to the core of it all and then what is the aim, and you have to ride that wave and understand that there's going to be slow times and that it's really about who carries on the longest, not who's going viral right now.
And do you come back to this regularly, as in reminding yourself or asking yourself the question, am I still on the path that I want to be on, or am I being too much influenced and thrown around?
Yeah. I do. I think I have audit times, usually quite quarterly. I'm like auditing my content and looking at that. I think especially when you're feeling quite lost in content, which can happen to all of us, it happens to every single one of us, having something that you're coming back to remind you of where it is that you want to go and seeing if that's shifted or maybe that's changed, you know. When I first went freelance and started consulting and started posting more content, there was a lot of work opportunities that were coming to me, and this is what helped me filter through what I should say yes to and what I should say no to. The path of least resistance was absolutely going down the road of having a huge agency, hiring a bunch of people, saying yes to all this work and going down that road, but that wasn't aligned with where I actually wanted to go in the life I wanted to build for myself. So it's so important, whether we're in business or in content or in life, to have that foundational understanding of yourself. Especially for me, I find anyway, I'm very goal orientated and I kind of need to have my North Star in order to keep stepping forward.
Yeah, otherwise, you can get distracted by other shiny objects.
Definitely. And there's always going to be shiny objects. The grass is always going to seem a bit greener over there, you know? It's always going to be kind of easier to say yes sometimes than it is to say no. Sometimes you just have to say no and really focus and narrow in on what it is that you truly want.
Yeah, you touched on seasonality, like different seasons in terms of like the content and what you focus on in terms of metrics too. What about in terms of sharing or creating across platforms? You started, a lot of your work was on Instagram, YouTube, you posted for a while, you just picked it up a couple of months ago. TikTok was always there in the background, but a side one, I assume.
Yeah.
How do you think about different platforms? And in terms of like your own personal experience, is it worth to do things at the same time?
Yeah.
Or should you nail one and then go to the next one and then so on?
Yeah, totally. Well, to be honest, I actually started mostly on TikTok for many reasons. But I think for anyone starting off, absolutely pick one platform. Pick a platform. I speak in the business sense as well. Pick a platform where your target audience is most concentrated in, or where you feel like you're most able to achieve your aims in. For some people that might be LinkedIn, for some people that might be TikTok. Pick a platform, dedicate yourself to it, crack it, understand the language, the native language of that platform, because every platform is slightly different. And then you can move on to other things. Something that really helped me with my YouTube journey and picking it back up was actually the short form content that I had already made for other platforms. I was able to repurpose that onto YouTube. And similarly with Instagram, having been on TikTok and kind of gotten over the fear of being seen, because you're seen by so many strangers on TikTok, I think it's a bit more of a softer landing on TikTok, especially when I started at that time. It kind of gave me a bit more of the confidence, the understanding of my creative process when it came to creating content for my personal pages and who I wanted to be seen as on Instagram. And for me, Instagram is probably like my main platform at the moment, because that's where my target audience is most densely concentrated. So yeah.
So you went on TikTok was the first. It got you over the fear of posting. You got a process in a good place. You started testing things that work, it don't work. And then you went into Instagram. You figured out, okay, this is where my audience is. That's my main platform in terms of my energy. And then YouTube, repurposing partially the TikTok, Instagram short videos.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of moved into YouTube because TikTok is extremely volatile at the moment. It's very, very common that you see people who have amassed like huge followings on there are not really reaching the audiences that they used to. And especially when it comes to short form content, it's so short lived. You spend all that time creating a video, it goes up and then it kind of disappears. It goes into the ether after like a couple of weeks. Unless, the case, it maybe resurges for some reason, but you can't bank on that. Whereas YouTube is way more of, it's a big investment of time, but at least that investment can compound. There are people that have made YouTube videos 5 years ago and they're still making money off of that YouTube video today. YouTube also pays the most when it comes to how much a platform pays. Obviously, Instagram doesn't pay you, but YouTube pays. And it just almost is like creating a digital asset that can serve you long into the future. And like my next goal with YouTube is to get monetized. I spoke to you guys about before, so like that's kind of what I'm focusing on now, and a lot of my energy will be going into YouTube, but still maintaining my Instagram. And then later down the line, I'll come back to TikTok.
Yeah. Do you feel YouTube followership is more loyal compared to TikTok?
Absolutely, definitely. I would say the TikTok followership probably is probably like the worst when it comes to really building like connection. Some people find like huge success on TikTok, don't get me wrong. However, you put out a TikTok video, someone that follows you on TikTok might not see that video ever. Whereas on YouTube, even just from the comments, the richness of the comments that you get on YouTube, people are, they're spending maybe 20 minutes of their time watching your video. That's such a huge investment, especially in today's economy. So they're super invested in you. And the depth of the connection you're able to have is so much better over 20 minutes versus spending one minute with someone, 30 seconds with someone.
And then moving to the next content also was done.
Exactly.
And in 20 minutes you probably see 100 creators.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can create a bit more of a world. There's a bit more of a, it's tangible in all senses of the word. Even just from editing YouTube videos, Yeah. It really is use a different part of your brain entirely, which I really enjoy.
Yes, and you touch on AdSense for YouTube. Revenue streams for creator, what are the most common ones and what have you seen as the least common but also effective?
Yeah, probably obviously the most common one for creators that reach a certain level is probably brand sponsorships. This is where you've built your platform to a certain size or a certain level of influence when it comes to your engagement, and a brand approaches you to promote their product using your social media channels. And this can be very lucrative if you do it well. But one thing I will say to all creators is to not jump into it too fast. Because it can dilute your content, especially if you haven't really established clear content formats that really work and people know you for, that you can naturally and organically include a brand in. Coming in, maybe you do you do women empowerment videos, and you get someone asks you to sponsor their health bar. It might just seem super random, and then that video is not really going to perform as well. So really focus on having a dedicated audience that are really on board with you, and ways in which you can include brands very organically into your content, so that it can work quite seamlessly. Because it can be very lucrative, and this is how a lot of creators make the bulk of their money. The other one obviously is the platforms paying you, the AdSense, affiliate links, affiliate marketing, especially if you have some sort of blog or written format, even if the newsletter can be really good. Or if you use that LTK, which is a way which you can tag the clothes that you wear and people can buy the items that you've worn and you get a small commission from it. Amazon do the same thing as well. Something that's probably is still common, but I think amazingly effective, because the downside of something like the ads, the revenue that you get from a platform is that it can fluctuate. You never know if your account gets hacked or something. Same with brand deals. They can be lucrative, however, they take a lot of time and there's a lot of back and forth with brands, and it takes you away from your organic content as well. However, if you find a way in which you can sell your knowledge and experience, your existing knowledge and experience, and almost create a business around that, that's what I've done with consulting and social media. I think this is such a sound way to monetize yourself. You can create a business around that and create systems and processes and structures that really like uphold that business, and your content can naturally feed into that. Like we said with Jyoti, who's able to just come on, chat about things, but also promote her gigs in a really natural way. Yeah. For me, it's sharing like really valuable insights and knowledge that I already have for free, and people find out about my business through that and want to work with me through that. But I also share like my life and just things that I'm up to, and this also creates that stronger bond and that stronger connection, and that's something that I'm truly passionate about, is sharing this life that I've created for myself. So yeah, I think that's like the number one that I would recommend for people if they're not sure what their business they want to do. A lot of people have really amazing knowledge and skills, whether that's in music and production, and they can sell that. They can create a program in which they bring students on, and it can be really fulfilling to share that knowledge with people. You can share it for free, in fact. So yeah.
What is it that makes brand partnerships time consuming? Is it the negotiations, the bureaucratics? Are they too demanding and asking for updates and follow-ups all the time? Like, can you share a bit more?
Yeah, I think, well, what makes brand deals quite demanding, I think, is the whole process, you know? And it's not until you start doing it that you really kind of understand how much time and work it actually takes. Mm-hmm. I think from the outside, you think, oh my God, like this brand wants to pay me £1,000 just to post one video, like amazing. However, at first you're like negotiating the rates. If you're new, it can be quite a minefield to know what you should be charging, but there's a lot of information out there and what you should be charging based off of your engagement and based off of your followership. I recommend to anyone, whatever rate they send you first, always try and negotiate up, no matter what, unless it's like crazy money, of course, like, but still. And then, so first you have the negotiation, then it's like the contract. They should be sending you a contract. You have to really check this contract because they can be quite tricky sometimes, and a lot of brands are quite naughty.
They have lawyers usually.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of like, what is a pitfall people should have an eye on?
A pitfall that people should have an eye on, I think this is a really common one. It's for the usage rights of the content. Anything that says like forever, anything that's an undefined amount of time, do not do that. I've signed a few bad contracts in my time, and like, just don't do it, because you will see your face on that ad for a very long time and you're like, you should be paying me for this. And you know,
it's a fixed amount of money for an indefinite period of time. That's what makes it
bad.
Yeah,
totally. Absolutely. Yeah. If there's any type of additional usage on that piece of content that you're creating for that brand, whether it's organic. So sometimes the basic will be like organic usage. That means that they can, you know, reshare that piece of content for maybe 6 months or a year. That's like the standard. But then they might want to use it for boosted or like for ads. That means that they can use that piece of content and run it as an ad on their own social media channels. They should be paying extra for that for sure. And there should be a defined amount of time in which they're allowed to use that for. And if they want to renew that license with you, then they need to come back and pay you more. So making sure that that is embedded in the contract is absolutely absolutely necessary.
Got it.
I've also been in several circumstances where brands have come to me and be like, oh, we like want to do this thing with you, and they don't offer a fee. Always ask, always ask. They'll either say yes or they'll say no, and it's up to you whether you want to feel like that putting in that work to do that piece of work with them is beneficial to you or not without a fee. There's been times where I have not asked for a fee and found out other creators are being paid. There has been times where you think, oh my God, it's such an amazing opportunity. Like, of course, you want to jump at it. But they always prey a bit on that naivety. And there's been times where I have asked for a fee when they literally in the title of the email, it said, gifted opportunity with like big brand. And I said, like, I said, is there a budget for this like piece of content that you want to do? And they came back and they were like, yeah, actually there is £1,500. I was like, so you really wanted me to do this for free for gifted, and you had £1,500 in your back pocket. So, you know, a lot of things come through agencies and they're being paid by the brand. So of course they want to retain as much of that payment from the brand as they can and pay the creators a small amount of that.
This cash goes to them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they're the middleman. So of course they want to get as much as they can, which, you know, business, I guess. So, sorry, I literally diverted.
No, that was super interesting. So just because it's a large brand doesn't mean you should be scared or afraid to just ask and demand.
Definitely. I think the way I see it, and I think the way I see it, even with a job and you're asking for a pay rise, is everyone here is at work. Everyone's got a job to do. You do your job, you advocate for yourself, you let them know what your value is, and you make an educated decision on whether it's worth your time to do that or not based off of what they're able to offer you. And don't feel any type of way about you owe anyone anything, or you do not. You absolutely do not. And I think it's up to creators as well to uphold a standard so that brands know that they can't take the piss. And they can't, like, sometimes I get random emails from like these random Amazon brands offering like $50 for a video. Of course I'm not going to do it. But if people start doing it, they keep offering it, you know? So we also have to kind of uphold that standard. But yeah, I went on a complete tangent about why brand deals are so they can be quite time consuming. Did I go back to that?
Please.
So you have the negotiation, then you have the contract, then you have actually doing the work that they've set out to you, the deliverables. That also takes time, you know, coming up with concepts, setting up the time aside to create the video, to film the video, to edit the video, and then you send it back for feedback, and they can either come back and say they want to tweak something or maybe not. It's very often that they do. Sometimes it's good to have in the contract that they can have like 3 revisions, especially for UGC creators. This is what they do. But usually there's no really more than 1, really and truly. If you've hit the brief, you know, there might be a few tweaks that they want to make, and then it's time to go live. And then after that, that's when they usually pay you. However, if it's a large sum of money, I always recommend, and it's over a long period of time. So some brands might be like, they want 3 videos over 3 months. I recommend asking for 50% payment upfront.
That's great advice.
Very clear.
For sharing.
Yes. Quick technical question on Instagram, YouTube. On Instagram, you can do co-posting. Do you do branded content of that type? And if so, have you seen advantages of doing co-posting on Instagram, or is not worth it?
I think there's always good advantages because it kind of broadens the scope of, you know, the audience where your content is going to be seen. If anyone else goes on that brand's page, they're going to see you there, which can be a good look for you. It can also be kind of a good look if you're working with a larger brand to have like a co-post with them. I've never really had a co-post with a brand like bring me loads of followers or loads more engagement. A lot of the time the engagement comes from my audience, which is why the brand wants to co-post. But again, that's something you can like charge a little bit extra for if you want to.
Yeah. And on YouTube, I mean, I know it's early for you on YouTube, but there's apparently a function to do collaborator posts.
Yes.
Have you tested it? Or?
I haven't tested it yet, but I will definitely be doing that.
Cool,
yeah, it looks really cool. It definitely looks really interesting. And I think especially for example, for like podcasts, it's a great feature to use to co-post with creators or people that already have existing platforms to really broaden that reach and further the audience who's going to see it.
I'm very curious, especially on YouTube. Because
definitely.
We never tested it. I mean, obviously with Disney yet, not.
Yeah.
but also with almost sound. We never tested it, but it was overdue, I think, as a feature.
Absolutely, definitely so. I'm kind of sad that the TikTok co-posting isn't available to everyone, because especially for me, I do a lot of content with my husband. That would be a great feature to use. But unfortunately it's not available for everyone. But yeah, I think it's a great feature.
Yeah, it is a great feature. And I know we are we need to spend a lot of time.
Yeah, sorry,
we can go on
so
forever.
much.
No, I think it's super interesting because I have tons of other questions, but I think we should be respectful of your time too.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's do rapid fire questions, the last part of the interview.
Fab. I didn't prepare for this, so go for it.
One question is, you seem to be a very good relationship with your relationships, and meaning that you have a balance. What would a person very close to you, your husband or someone else in your family or close friend, would say you either suck at or you should be better at? Because you have so much in your life.
Yeah. Definitely replying to WhatsApps. I'm the kind of friend that takes 3 to 5 business days. My friends know if they need me, just call me and I'll pick up. I will be there. I shine in person on WhatsApp and stuff.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah. What are the things that would need to happen and unfold for you in the next 6 to 12 months to consider that time period successful?
Quite recently, I'm moving into kind of a new phase of my content and kind of restructuring my strategy. So I defined 2 aims, just 2 aims only. So achieving those goals, really. Launching a new masterclass or new version of my digital product, so I am able to help way more people. Right now I'm having to turn down a lot of work. That would be it, yeah. And just being happy, just feeling settled, which to be honest, sometimes that never comes when it's in business, but.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will get there.
Thanks. What about you guys?
To begin with, I would say I'm quite excited to just get this off the ground, launch the first season. I think I'm already getting quite a lot of happiness from just doing these interviews, talking to inspirational people, being able to ask all these questions that I have, which also is interesting for myself. Well, it's very interesting for myself to listen and to learn. So that's already quite a huge thing for me, which I'm very grateful for. But then obviously I would love to see this find an audience, create a community of people that I think are like-minded and that we can ultimately support with the interviews and the topics that we cover.
Yeah. So great topics, I would say.
Yeah. For me, absolutely the same. And beyond the metrics, the reach, whatever comes with that, I think for me, I have 4, let's say, meta objectives that are beyond this work itself. And I think the biggest one of them is being at peace with myself when it's the end of the day and it's 10 p.m. and I worked all day, 14 hours, 15 hours, sometimes really crazy amount of time, and I still feel it's not enough because there's no upper limit in a way, especially when you're still lacking the feedback from the outside world. That can be in form of revenue, customers, people appreciating that because the product is not out there.
Yeah.
The feedback is yourself and maybe your close friends or the guests might appreciate it, but I want to be happy that I've done enough for that day. And go to sleep super happy instead of having a shitty day because I feel there is more that I can do.
You're going to bed thinking about all the things that you needed to do. Totally.
Exactly. And I think that because this journey can be an amazing journey, the next 12 months or the current 12 months can be absolutely amazing and super fun, as we were saying, just having fun and enjoying this process, or it can be a huge source of stress because XYZ fear.
Really, yeah, definitely.
So making sure you keep the fun for sure and not turn it into stress and anxiety because it's not going fast enough. And you have set goals for yourself which you're not reaching.
Trust the process, isn't it?
Trust the process.
Trust the process. The process itself.
The process.
Exactly. And the attitude to the process is the thing that I want to focus on.
Yeah. That's a great one. That's a very great one.
Hard to realize.
Definitely. Sometimes you just have to have that conversation with yourself, though, isn't it? I've had kind of a moment of that because I've had some health issues, random ones. My knee started swelling up. Had a back problem recently. It felt like one after the other. So really readjusting what my expectations are of myself and my output. and feeling at peace with that, like accepting that sometimes my body has to rest and other times it's time to go. And like, okay, maybe in a day I can do 3 things. And those are the 3 things I'm going to do, and go to bed and feel happy, rather than like overloading yourself with a list of 10 things that like, of course, you need to do, but like, what are the priorities?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. Being self-employed, going out and doing your own thing. It's fun and games until it's not fun and games.
It's true. Yeah. It is true. And it's, you, as we were saying before, you can be your worst enemy.
Yeah.
Because then you can always set a higher expectation, higher goal. Like there's always a way to think about, you see the glass half empty.
Yeah.
And think, I have so much I want to do. And then you beat yourself up for no reason.
No, exactly.
Nothing changed.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. The perception is a key one for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
One question for you from our previous guest is, has there been a person or specific relationship in your past that significantly influenced the trajectory of your career?
Wow. Yeah. A moment or a person?
I think the question was person or relationship.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. When I went to university, I moved into university halls. And I was always someone that really enjoyed going out dancing. I mean, I'm Nigerian. We love a good time. But I always had a really big issue with the culture of going out at that time. You know, there was a lot of clubs in central London that didn't let you in if you're a group of black girls. You had to wear really high heels and like parade around like almost like a piece of meat. There was a lot of sexual assault happening in the club. It wasn't the best environment, although I loved to dance, loved to be outside. And when I was in my second year in halls, there was a girl called Afia who lived in the flat next to mine, and we became friends. And she took me to my first like nightclub, like dance music nightclub. We went to Fire and Lightbox in Vauxhall, and this was the first time that I went out and didn't face any of those things. Was able to interact with people just like on a human level, whether they were guys, girls, or anything else. And just like be a human being existing in a space where we were enjoying music and enjoying each other's. It was like mind blowing to me that this existed, and this is what I always wanted. And this is how I fell in love with like dance music and fell down the rabbit hole of understanding the history of dance music culture. And I think without her and that night that we went out, I don't know where I would be.
Amazing.
Thank you, Afia.
Afia, yeah. Thanks, Afia.
Well done. Do you have a question for our next guest?
Okay. Yes. What is one system or habit you have in your life that you owe most of your success to?
Love it.
Will be delivered. Yes.
Whitney, what a pleasure.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.